Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Steve Kiyama. I'm the franchise owner of the Action Coach franchise in Fairfax, Virginia, and I'm your host today of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have the pleasure to introduce Michael Buzinski, the CEO of Buzzworthy Strategies, as my guest. And today we're going to talk about Michael's business, his journey into business ownership, challenges, best practices, and share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. So if this is your first time on the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop another conversation like this. So Michael, welcome to the show. Thank you very much for being here. And if you would, please share a little bit about your background, who you are, and tell us a little bit about your business.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Michael Buzinski, wow. You asked a lot of questions and all of them are very long answers. So let me truncate this down. So I am a 20-year full-time entrepreneur, a 10-year Air Force veteran, a 15-year part-time professional musician veteran, um, former farm kid. That's kind of been the last 50 years right there.
Covers a lot of
And
ground.
yeah, I covered a lot of ground. I've lived in 8 states and I live right
Hmm.
outside of Richmond, Virginia, so just down the
Hmm.
street from you.
Hmm.
Lived in Alaska for 17 years.
Hmm.
I've been to 34 countries.
Hmm.
And I found a passion early on in sales and marketing.
Hmm.
And after I got out of the Air Force, I did not set out to start a marketing firm. I actually
Hmm.
started out as a recording studio.
Ah,
Because I
okay.
had just spent 15 years. I started my music career as a jazz trombonist.
Hmm.
Our junior high jazz band went pro, recorded an album, had swag, played places like Disneyland, Dixieland, and Sheraton hotels and stuff like that up and down the coast of California for about a year and a half. And then when everybody went to high school and that all fell apart, I picked up the guitar, taught myself to play the guitar, and
Hmm.
spent another 12 years gigging around wherever I was. It was always
Hmm.
part-time. I always had a full-time job. So with that said, I had a lot of sales and marketing experience. And then when I joined the service to get out of the corporate grind, and that's
Hmm.
funny that I say that because I was 22 years old when I joined the service and I was already tired of the corporate grind, right? So it only took like 5 years for me to get done with that.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
joined the Air Force, a third generation Air Corps, flew on a plane called AWACS, got out.
Hmm.
I was supposed to get my degree while I was in, didn't do that. I had a job that didn't translate to the civilian world, and I had been out of the civilian workforce for 10 years. So,
Hmm.
all my friends were like, "Oh yeah, just go work for Home Depot and all these others." And I'm like, I can't rot on the vine. So I started the recording studio in answer to the problems I had as a recording artist, and that
Hmm.
was just that the studios sucked. I mean, it just was a
Hmm.
horrible experience. So
Hmm.
I opened up with the thought of a learning studio
Hmm.
for other part-time working musicians
Hmm.
and helping people get the best of their experience, the most out of their investment.
Hmm.
Of course, within a year, the home studio, the digital home studio, had launched out, and people could record their own stuff. Not
Hmm.
well, but at least they felt like they were getting a better value out of buying that once and getting as many albums as they wanted versus paying me over and over to make their albums. And also surviving off of starving musicians, a horrible business plan.
Hmm.
So we pivoted into media production, serving the needs of micro businesses, brick and mortar, and stuff like that. And I grew into a multi-million-dollar creative agency in Anchorage, Alaska. We served about 300 companies a year. We had a couple dozen employees in a 13,000
Hmm.
square foot facility. But by 2018, I was completely burnt out and underpaid. I lived in what we call entrepreneurial poverty, owned a
Hmm.
job, and my boss, for the lack of better terms, was a dick. And so I fired him and decided to close the brick and mortar, rebrand into what is now called Buzzworthy Strategies, and go 100% remote and get rid of the behemoth of a building. You get a big building, it takes a lot of energy. It's
Yes.
stupid. It's
Hmm.
stupid. So I was like, okay, I do not, but that's everybody told you, like, well, that's how you get your generational wealth. That's how you become financially independent and all
Mm,
this stuff. And this is
maybe.
back, yeah, back in the I mean, this is 2000 to
Hmm.
2018, so it's a different
Hmm.
world than just 7 years ago, right? Like,
Hmm.
we used to, when I started my company, that originally it was, grow at all costs. Your top three KPIs were top line revenue,
Hmm.
square footage of your office, number of employees.
Hmm.
Nobody ever talked about profitability. Nobody ever talked
Yeah.
about quality of life. Nobody ever talked about, hey, what are
Right.
you doing with your family? How much time are you spending with your kids? Are you getting
Oh,
enough
details.
stuff?
Yes.
None of that stuff. Oh, no, 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 no,
Right.
no. You're an entrepreneur. Shut the hell up, and you spend 120 hours at the office every week. Okay,
Yeah.
that stuff will come when you deserve it, right?
Mm.
And so nowadays, much different. And in the last 7 years, I have reinvented how I run my business. I have gotten married since then, and I do work less, a lot less, and I do make 7 times more money than I ever did at a lower top line revenue,
Hmm.
fraction of right now. So we did some math on it. By the time I matched the revenue that I had as a creative agency through the strategy company, we'll be 32 times more profitable.
Excellent.
Isn't that crazy? And right
Fantastic.
now we're at 7x. 7x. That means that I am going to have just over 4.5 times more profitability as I grow,
Hmm.
where a lot of people will tell you, well, no, the bigger you get, the less profitable you become. And I'm like, no, I'm going the other way.
Mm.
The bigger we
Yeah.
get, the more profitable I'll become.
Right.
And when
Right.
we say profit, I'm talking about the money in Michael Buzinski's pocket at the end of the day, while
Right.
paying everybody else living wages and what they're worth,
Right.
right? And that whole 9 yards. And that's brought us here to talk about my story. That's a big chunk of it right there.
Good. 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 That's good. Good. That's a lot of learning right there. Let's give the listeners a little bit of context. Let's talk about a little bit about the structure in a way. Solo owner at this time, business partners, investors,
Still a
outside
sole
investors.
owner. As many times as I've tried to give parts of my business away, I'm still a sole owner.
Yeah.
Just last year, went through a junior partner track with one of my account managers who owned an agency before coming to us.
Yep.
And yeah, about 6 months in, they decided that they were going to go in a different direction,
Hmm.
back to where they came from, actually.
Uh-huh.
And it
Gosh,
is what it is. And
business
there was a
ownership
time
is
when,
hard.
what now?
Business ownership is hard.
Yeah, right, right. Which is fine. I mean, like,
Yeah.
there's a reason that they came to work for me. So, we'll see. I hope them the best. That's my biggest thing, is that,
Right.
so it's not about whether you're going to lose your people or not. And when I started my business, I always admired the companies that had like the 20 years in business emblem on their invoices and all that good stuff, and that they had employees that had been with them for decades. And
Hmm.
I'm like, that's what I want. And after 13 years in business, the longest employee I had, beyond myself, was 5 years out of
Ah,
13 that I was in
interesting.
business,
Okay.
right? And it's a different time now. So we were
Hmm.
coming out of the 90s when I started, right? 2005. We had remnants of that stuff, but
Hmm.
those businesses were already established. They already had those people in place.
Hmm.
The new generation, the millennials, which is mostly who I was hiring at the time as a small agency, they have a different mindset,
Hmm.
right? And they were raised a little bit different. And so over the last 20 years, you've seen this huge shift of, like, people don't stick around for more than 2 to maybe 3 years, because
Right.
they've learned the more that they move, the more they make. And there's studies that show the longer you stay at a business, the less you end up making in the end of your career.
Yep.
And so now that that's been put in place, now it's like, so for me, I actually look, well, and for the services that we provide in the strategy space, I need more seasoned people. So now the majority of the people that I'm hiring already have gone through 20 years in the corporate grind. I've already been consultants
Yeah.
on their own. They don't want to build a business. So they're very lifestyle type people. And
Hmm.
if I have enough good work for them, they're not going to go anywhere. And if I don't, they still have their consultancy to pick up business on the side.
Hmm.
So, it's more partnerships than it is employees. And even with my employees, one of our core values is work like you own the place. So
Hmm.
intrapreneurship is part of our core values and our culture.
Hmm.
So, with that said, does that mean my people will stay longer? Probably not. I think one of my folks, once they get their next degree, will probably move on because
Hmm.
now they're going to expect a 20% bump from what they're making now. And they may or may not in 3 years we might not be in the place to pay them for that for what they do. So
Hmm.
they might need another position, but maybe we have a position. That's great.
Hmm.
So people are going to grow in and out of your business.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I've learned. So with the failed partnership, um, attempt to a partnership, wasn't even a full partnership, right? We had just got some of our fundamental paperwork in place and agreed on everything, and everything was very agreeable. Like there was
Mm.
nothing that was like, oh, okay, that right there, I can't live with it. It was more of just something
Hmm.
grabbed them and said, you know what? I need to do this on my own. I need to have something that was my, and unfortunately, that was one of the first questions I asked when we first started talking was like, do you need to have your name on the mast, right? The flag post. And they said no at the beginning, but eventually that became a yes. And so
Yeah.
you're just gonna have to,
Yeah.
one of the biggest things is that people will change their mind. I
And that's
have,
okay.
and
Yeah, of
that's okay.
course. Yeah, that's
That's
okay.
if I if I looked at how many times I changed my mind, there's no reason for me ever to be upset about somebody else changing their mind.
Right.
So I just, yeah, but it is what it is.
Well, let's pick up on that actually. And you know this by now. There's a whole bunch of different roles. There might be 24 different roles in a company. And I'm not talking about titles, I'm talking about functions here.
Hmm.
Anywhere from getting leads, closing leads, performing labor, doing the bookkeeping, doing the HR, all these different hats that you have to wear in the process of having a business.
Hmm.
Which, which ones do you wear?
Right now, I wear the sales and marketing and
Hmm.
finance.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Are there any of those that you're working out of?
so right now, the biggest one I'm trying to work myself out of is sales, and which is usually the last. But because we work such a tight ship, my
Hmm.
administrator does all my AP and my AR.
Hmm.
So I only really have to look. I don't even look at my bank accounts anymore. Like I have a dashboard that tells me if our AR is behind or ahead and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
If it's
Hmm.
behind, then I go look at then I look at my budgets and I might even look at my bank accounts. But I
Hmm.
already got somebody looking at that stuff, so I'm not too worried about that. I know what my
Good.
budget is. I know what we're
Yeah.
bringing in. And so that's not something that we're not big enough for somebody to need to be there 20, 30 hours looking at the numbers every day.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, okay, fine. Marketing is my thing. And I have
Hmm.
found that I have not been able to delegate that to somebody else. Like, so we're rebuilding our website. And I have an internal team that builds websites.
Hmm.
And I'm like, and I built my first website for myself in 1999 and on a jet overseas, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And that was for Buzzwork Studios, which was a photography studio. I was an aspiring photographer for a minute. That one never made money. But anywho, the uh, the whole premise was that I have built the 5 websites that have carried me through the last 20 years
Hmm.
have all been of my design, my copy, everything like that. And so I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll write the copy. I'm going to let the team design it. Right.
Hmm.
And even then, I spent 6 hours yesterday going through just the homepage once I saw what they had created. They gave me 3 versions of it, which was great. And I'm the
Hmm.
hardest person to please because,
Hmm.
it's like, give me something different. And they did.
Hmm.
And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I probably still wanted a little bit of the same too. So there's
Hmm.
like the graphics package, stuff like that. So, but then, then I'm also looking at like, well, okay, so the copy didn't translate to the web
Right.
flow as well. So
Right.
I had to
Right.
like rework the copy and stuff like that. So there is, as a visionary, it's really hard for you to get out of the marketing space.
Hmm.
Um, d- I'm probably only part of about 40% of my marketing.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm 100% of my sales.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And when we were a multi-million dollar company, I had three salespeople.
Mm-hmm.
I outsold all of them without trying,
Interesting.
combined.
Mm,
Like my sales always out earned all of them combined.
interesting.
So now so now that we're getting to the size where it's like, okay, now we have the marketing operating system in place. I have somebody managing that. So I have people working on marketing, but I'm still the lead of marketing. Like
Yeah.
it,
Right.
the approvals come through me now, right? So I'm
Yeah.
not doing all of the work. So with that said, now it's a matter of getting a lead flow that I can start now building out a remote team and doing it a little bit at a time. So like my next thing is doing an appointment setter and
Okay.
having
Good.
them. And so it's like a lead comes in,
Mm-hmm.
they self-qualify, then somebody gets on
Mm-hmm.
the phone, qualifies them, then they get to me.
Okay.
Now, if that works out, and you're going to work all that out, and then you
Mm-hmm.
have to get your SOPs because appointment setters come and go like
Yeah.
every
Right.
6 months. Like
Right.
it's ridiculous. Right? You can't
Right.
hold on to these people. Your best salespeople will not be with you more than 2 years, and you're
Mm-hmm.
lucky if it's over a year.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like nowadays, salespeople are at such a high premium. It's almost impossible to get a great sales staff together. Okay, unless you cultivate them and then
Mm-hmm.
have some sort of golden handcuffs to that makes them want to stay there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So with all that said, eventually though there will be enough lead flow for a salesperson to then do the sales process. So in the meantime, I'm documenting and doing all
Mm-hmm.
of the research and stuff like that, which just then flows right back into the marketing. So it just makes sense
Right.
for me to just kind of hold on to the marketing for now because it's easier for me to see the numbers immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But once I get out of that, then it's going to be how can I get to the point where I'm only doing this kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm out there just being the spokesperson of
Mm-hmm.
the company and working on the next strategy or
Right.
writing the next book,
Yeah. Right.
and adding to our authority because that right
Mm-hmm.
in my industry is all that matters
Mm-hmm.
is my track record and the authority that I bring to the
Right.
conversation.
Right. Cool. Cool. So now let's play with that a little bit. You're a marketing company. What marketing works best in your arena?
So marketing firms are the hardest types of B2B service-based businesses to market
Mm,
because there's no barrier to entry to being a marketer.
right.
So
Right.
there's a lot of noise. Word of mouth is a great way, and networking is a great way to get to a million. After that, it's a pay to play. Nobody's getting away with anything for free anymore.
Right. Yes.
Right. And people say, oh, I never advertised. Da, 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 da. It's like, okay, so every once in a while you'll have somebody who got lucky enough to get key accounts that then it had enough referrals, and you have to take a look at what were their goals versus your goals.
Well, that's all
Like
part of
we're
it too. Yeah. Right.
right, right. If
Yeah.
they're sitting there, hey, I made it at a million, I'm like, great, you just got started in my book.
Yeah. Right.
You're only 1/10 of where I'm trying to go right now.
Yeah. Right.
Right?
Right.
Like I'm trying to
And
be 100% remote at 10 million, right?
that's the question I was going to ask. Where are you going?
10 million. 10 million is the next
It's a,
one, right? Like
it's a
once you
great
pass a
target.
million, right? That's the end target, and we have a couple of echelons from there. So once it's like 1 million, 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, 10 million, because
Yeah.
there is a
Okay.
little bump right before 10 million at 8 million that I see over and over is breaking the 10 million after 8.
Yeah. I was going to say seven, but I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 to 8. 7 to 8. I got a financial a CPA account that's at 9.5.
Hmm.
And they're just seeing it's like all of the effort that they used to have, but their vertical that they serve is getting oversaturated and commoditized.
Yeah.
And then they got acquired, and it's just like the ands and the ands and the ands, right? So
Yeah.
they got acquired too early, so they sold
Yeah.
too early.
Yeah.
But when you're the one who makes all the sales at $9.5 million, the owner is the only salesperson for the company. They just started marketing when they hit 7 million, right? So yeah, people will tell you, oh, you don't need this, oh, you don't need that. You don't know. They don't know. They don't know what your situation is. They don't know where you're at. And don't compare. your first year to somebody else's 10 year.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yeah,
I
especially if
used
you're
to do
not in
it. It'll
exactly the
drive you
same industry.
nuts.
Yeah,
It'll
right.
drive you nuts. And even if you've been in business for 20 years, we just have a new client came on last week and they've been in business for 25 years. They are just now passing the $1 million mark. But they've gone through so much and you don't know what the backstory of that was, For the
Correct.
last seven
Yeah.
years, I could be probably much closer to 10 million, but I would also be miserable.
Well,
My
the other
oh, go
question
ahead.
might be, was that their goal?
Yeah, was it their goal? And that was what I was alluding to for myself is that over the last 7 years, I've moved twice. COVID hit. I've questioned what type of business do I want over and
Yeah.
over again through all of the
All of these.
transitions.
Yes. Yeah.
And also, getting the right people on the bus,
Hmm.
right? You just never know. I mean, the market is the labor market has changed dramatically just in the last 5 years, right? And so
That is
what we
true.
used to think
Yes.
was right, and so
Hmm.
without good people, service-based businesses cannot grow, not exponentially. Now you can slowly burn yourself out trying to do all the work yourself, but you
Right.
got to find people to do the work. And I don't care if it's operational, client success, accounting, sales, marketing. I mean, those are your big five, right? And then leave some room for you to be a leader. The
Well, you got to
people,
manage them. You got to lead them. You got to train them. Yeah. If you don't do those things, they're not going with you.
right?
Yeah.
No, right. So with all that said, I always tell people you are where you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
Because even if you say, well, I was really lazy here and da da da, well, that means that you were just not ready to take on the responsibility at that time. And that's okay. You got to take the time for you to be in the right mindset for you to take on the responsibility of the next step.
I have a friend who expresses it that your business is perfectly designed and operated to achieve the results you're getting today.
It is the business you designed. It is
Now the
exactly what you
question,
designed.
and now the question is, if you want different results, what are we going to redesign?
Yeah. I mean, trying to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results,
Uh-huh.
is Einstein's way of saying insanity, right?
Yeah.
And that's when in 2018, I was sitting in a foyer of my facility that we had just built less than a year and a half, maybe 2 years prior to that. And I spent $250,000 building that space out. And I'm like, I could sit here for 5 more years and dig myself out of this hole that I built for myself. Or I can burn it to the ground and see what type of phoenix comes out of the ashes.
Yeah.
And I took a bet on myself and I'm pretty happy with the results.
Very good. Very good. That's the important part right there. Are you happy with the results? Are you going in the direction that you wanted to go?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Let's kind of pivot on that. What's the most memorable hurdle in your business you've crossed?
The most memorable hurdle, well, there's been two huge hurdles. The first time we passed $1 million in revenue was 11 years into business.
Hmm.
We had champagne, we did the whole thing. I still have a picture of that team.
Good.
That was a pretty big deal. And 18 months later, we were tracking over 2 million.
Very good. Very
So
good.
so it took 11 years and they tell people it's like, hey, your overnight success is 10 years. And we're really close to that.
Or
And the crazy
more.
thing is when I reimagined my business, I was like, oh, I'll be able to do that in half the time now. And then you
Hmm.
move and
Hmm.
then COVID hits and then you move
Hmm.
again. I mean,
Hmm.
and it's like, no. Now, within the next 3 years, do I anticipate? Yes, I think by the next end of next year. So 8 years versus 11 years. Shorter, but not, 2 or 3 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You just never know what's going to be there. And there's other people who have pivoted, and within a year, they've gone 180 degrees from where they were at, and they're back to half of the revenue that took them 10 years the first time. Everybody has a different a journey, and you can't knock yourself because of where you're at and what you were doing because everybody has different variables in their business. There's different variables to your verticals. There's different variables to your market, where you live, what type of business you
Yes.
want to lead, not just the vertical in what in the industry you serve, but what type of business do you want to lead?
Yes.
Are you the leader?
Yeah.
And if you give up, if you want to be the technician that owns the company, then that means that you are now going to have to relinquish the reins. And then that means the speed of growth and trajectory and all the other things that go along with being a business owner are going to be up to somebody else.
I had a business owner who owned a service-based, personal services-based business years ago, who saw herself as the provider of services when she first started.
Hmm.
And a year later, she had finally realized she wasn't a personal services person with a business. She was a business owner that happened to do personal services.
That's a good sign.
And that is a very important decision in this process. If you have decided you are the technician, then that's what you have is a job. If you
Hmm.
have decided you're a business owner, now we've got a new adventure and we've got to be asking different questions and
Right.
doing different things. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, but I would probably say about right now, about 10% to 20% of my time is still in the consulting space.
Mhm.
And I only have two, maybe three clients that I am the lead consultant on, which is only about 10% of the clients we consult on a regular basis. So
Okay.
that's pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
it is good.
Um, but I would like to get that down to even further than that. So
Good.
yes, I want to be the same in the same place. And I think you have to make that conscious effort and you have to say no to the people who are like, well, I'll go with your company if you are the person who's doing the technicianing, right? And you have to say, no, that is not how this works. And so right now, because it's still part of the sales process, I've been able to pivot into I will be your account manager and I will oversee the overarching strategies in play, but you'll be working day to day with somebody else. And they
Good.
respect that. And the
Good.
right clients will respect that of you.
Yes, they
The
will.
ones that don't, those are your pitas. Those are the people who are going to suck the ever living energy out of you.
Yes.
And now you're going to have even less time to then cater to your best clients because
Yes.
you now have the person who must have you to listen to anything of what's got to go, what's got to happen.
Yeah.
And I've just found over the years that those are high touch, low margin clients.
Generally speaking, that's the way it works. When you look out 5 or 10 years, what do you see? Where are you going?
Well, should be at about 10x where we're at now,
Good.
and positioning myself for either a employee owned buyout, some type of co-op, if you will, or an acquisition. And then
Why?
after that, those are the two things that I see it. But yeah, I don't think, well, I don't have any kids, so there's nobody to hand it off to. So I either need to hand it either needs to be bought out by the employees or it has to be bought out by a bigger firm.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's good.
Yeah.
You've made a lot of progress. It's a journey, isn't it?
20 years. Yeah, it took a lot.
Well, it's not just the years, though. It's the
Yeah.
learnings.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, the thing is that there's a lot of EQ, right? I'm starting to write a book, an outline to a book called The Q Factor. And it's the three Qs to entrepreneurialism. You have your
Mm-hmm.
intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
you have your emotional EQ,
Mm-hmm.
and you have your adaptability quotient.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And between those three, depending, they don't all grow. There's no set, like you're not born with intelligence. Your intelligence is nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are more apt to grow intelligence faster than others.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that. Emotional intelligence is all about evolving
Yes.
and nurture of your emotional EQ. And adaptability is a mindset,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some people are not adaptable. That's because they haven't adopted that adaptability. So their growth, those are three growth pillars to a leader. And so if you have high intelligence but low EQ and low AQ, your growth is sliding away from you because
Yeah.
if you think of it, those three pillars holding up a platter and you're sitting on the top of and your business is sitting on top of that. And when you are lacking in one of those three, it tilts your plate that you're
Hmm.
you're rolling around on, right? And so if it
Yeah.
gets too lopsided, the ball rolls right off the plate,
Yeah.
right? But and all three pillars never rise at the same rate. So it's just a
Ooh.
matter of
It is
basically
a learning
going.
process.
Mhm. And
Yeah,
and
good.
that's experience. Experience increases your Q factor more than any other input. You can read every book in the world, have all the knowledge of the world, and be just as good at what you do as AI does.
Hmm.
Because that's what AI is. It's a 6
Hmm.
year old
Hmm.
that has no concept of the world around it, but has all access to all the knowledge of it.
Has all that information, but none,
Has all the
no.
information, no experience, right? And so
Yeah.
now when we used to say that knowledge is power, that's no longer true. Knowledge is commoditized. You can buy as much of it as you want for $20 a month.
Yeah.
Now, experience plus knowledge equals expertise and wisdom. That is the gold.
This feels
And
like a sequel to the book, um, The E-Myth.
yeah, maybe. There you go. Well, Michael Gerber's son is has taken over the legacy, so we'll see what he does with it. Yes, but yes, the Q factor is definitely something that will be. Uh, I think that we'll see that a lot of people talked about emotional EQ for probably I mean it came up the books. There's a couple books on it last 10, 15 years, you know. But now adaptability is like the birth of AI is now said, okay, now how fast can you adapt,
Mhm.
right? And keep your EQ and continue to increase your intelligence.
Good, good,
Because
good, good.
you're gonna have to know more things as a leader because knowledge is so commoditized, right? That means that you have to be able to access information much faster and then synthesize it so that you can systemize it, right? Which then
Agreed.
the synthesization is your IQ. Your systemization is your AQ, your
Hmm.
adaptability quotient. Okay.
Hmm.
And it's because new information creates new systems. So me,
Hmm.
for the last 7 years, I went from a brick and mortar with dozens of employees and outside help, right? Contractors, stuff like that, and completely flipped it around and go, okay, I'm the only person in the office always. Everybody's on a video screen. How do you build culture? You know, there's all sorts of things you have to adapt to, right? And then I moved like what did we move? Like 3, 4 months after, yeah, maybe 6 months. 6 months after we were 10 months, no, I'm sorry, 10 months after we started that business, we were in a new state. And I'd been in Alaska for 17 years. I knew everybody in Alaska, small state. And then I go to Illinois and I know no one. So now I've got to
Right.
adapt not only to a new state, but now, oh, by the way, 4 months later, oh, we're going to lock everybody down. Now you have to do it from your home in a state you have no friends in, no connections, nothing. That's adaptability. Being able to
Hmm.
then take that and go, okay, well, got to figure it out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Cool. Just based on what you've already learned, all that you've learned along this journey, if you were going to start your business over again today, would you do anything different?
Oh, 100%. So many things different. We'd have to have another show.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that.
I would start smaller. I think we are in the age of specialization when it comes to B2B services.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't care what industry you're in. If you can start small and then get really good at that. I was just on a consult call before this interview, and the client is a fractional CFO.
Hmm.
And when I first met them 4 years ago, they were billing like $1,500 a month for their service that they should have been charging $6,000 to $7,000 a month for.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I told them, I says, if you keep trying to charge that kind of fee, you're going to go broke.
Hmm.
The funny thing is that he actually didn't have anybody biting at $1,500. It wasn't until we right-sized his pricing that he started taking on clients. Okay. And
There's
now,
truth to that. Yeah.
right now he's 4 times bigger in the last 4 years. So he's
Hmm.
been increasing exponentially over the years. And now we're I'm back in the saddle as a fractional. Um, and we're talking today about his marketing operating system. And the
Hmm.
first thing he talks about after we went through, like, we're going to start with this one thing we're going to sell. And it's going to then balloon into your fractional space, right?
Hmm.
And I have a whole framework on how to do that I've done
Hmm.
multiple times for myself and for other businesses.
Hmm.
And then the next thing he says is, yeah, but I really can't wait to get to all these other services I want to start adding to. And I'm like, that's what we went through when we first started, I was your consultant 4 years ago, and I told you to get rid of all those things and just be the fractional CFO for your niche. And he has a very specific niche, which is awesome.
Hmm.
Because it's what he knows. That's what
Hmm.
he exited 2 businesses and what he does as a CFO. So he has the cred,
Hmm.
right? But back then it was, oh, and accounting services and tax services and all those. I said, when I go to a CFO, when somebody comes to me as a fractional CFO and they say, hey, how can you market me? The first thing I tell them is get rid of all the accounting things because either you're going to be a
Right.
fractional leader or you're going to be a financial advisor. Which one do you want to be?
Yeah.
Right. And we got to decide. So back to your question is that I would then, if I had to start all over today, and I feel like every time I pivot, I do because,
Hmm.
and anybody does, because when you
Hmm.
pivot away from what you're known for,
Hmm.
it takes time to get known for the new thing.
Hmm.
Right. So before we were getting on the show and you're like, yeah, business was Buzzworthy Marketing. That's our old name.
Yeah.
Right. And we're
Yeah.
about to, and right currently as we're recording this is Buzzworthy Marketing, but just a couple of weeks from now when this airs, it'll be Buzzworthy Strategies. And that shift, right, was also what we had to shift away from. The Buzz Biz Creative was the creative agency's name. So when I shifted away from that, I did a complete rebrand because I was like, I wanted people to know that we were not a creative agency anymore. We were an integrated marketing firm. And then over the last 7 years, we've gradually just kept getting ourselves further and further away from the
Right.
agency model and into the strategy. Now, people ask me, say, well, do you still do the fulfillment of like content marketing and PPC? And it's like only to the people that we built the strategy for. Because we found out that if we don't have control of the strategy, that our fulfillment will always be the tail wagging the dog.
Yeah. It becomes a commodity.
And we become a commodity and we're not considered the experts,
Yeah.
right? And so coming back to like your question again is like one thing, be known for one thing
Mm.
and sell that one thing over and over and over again to
Right.
one type of person,
Right. Right.
right? And just do that for the first million and say no to all the other things
I think you
because
can
there's
take
going to
it.
be a lot of people who are like, well, you can do it for this and you can do it for that. Da, da, da. And when you're first starting out, yeah, your lane might be wider, but it's got to be the same thing. I'll give you one more example. We were talking about that $10 million CPA firm we're working with. Okay. They had 2 verticals they served. One was marketing agencies,
Right.
service-based service. The other one was CPGs, which are products,
Mm.
inventory-based
Hmm.
companies, right?
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
the food and beverage space.
Okay.
Okay.
Hmm.
Accounting for a service-based business and a inventory-based business are very, very different.
Right.
One's scalable and one's not.
Right.
They're like, well, the inventory is waning because there's so many people who want to get in and on this the startup space and all those other stuff is becoming commoditized. Maybe we should start leaning on the service space and go to the agencies. And so it's like, why would you do that? You get more profitability in your inventory space. Why don't we find another vertical in the inventory space that you can then expand on? And
Right. Right.
now your processes in your business stay aligned and you can start firing your agencies.
Yes.
Now you're bringing your
Yes.
profit up.
Right.
And the people will stick around longer because now they're not always being torn. Well, today I got to be this person, and then tomorrow I got to be this person.
Right.
That's grinding on an employee.
Yeah.
But if they can get that, if
Good.
they can get predictable pay and a predictable work with predictable outcomes, you're going to have more predictability in your retention from your employees, and that equals retention in your clients.
Right. 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 And
Stay
predictable cash
simple,
flow and
stay
everything else.
vertical.
Yeah,
Exactly. Stay
yeah,
simple, stay vertical. I mean, that's it.
yeah.
And it's okay if you decide like, okay, I tried this one vertical and I went up it and nope, that's not good. Okay, right back down. Next vertical, up. And pivot fast when you start. Pivot real fast. Make decisions hard, pivot fast. Hard fast, hard fast. And then once you get something that takes off, now pivot less, stay longer.
Test and measure.
Test and measure. But the deeper you get, the less you pivot.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
And I think that and then be patient because if you're in a service-based business, especially in a B2B space, your sales cycles are long. It does
Yeah.
not happen overnight. Overnight success happens every 10 years.
Or longer.
Right.
If you really look back at history, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yeah,
I usually tell my guys, tell my client base, whatever we're doing today is going to take traction, take full traction in about a year.
if you go back to the book Outliers, what was it,
The book.
10,000 hours?
Yep.
I think it took the Beatles how many years of performing in places like Germany
Right.
in taverns and bars before they got their act together. And
As a punk
then they
band, I
could
think, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, before they could show up someplace and actually be something. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's some amazing history to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Cool. All right. So we're getting there towards a good time to wrap up. Let's do a few rapid fire questions here. So
Okay.
off the cuff answers. What would you call the key to success for you?
Patience.
10 years worth.
Yeah, right. 20 years worth.
If we were in a coffee shop and somebody walked in who was talking about he's just starting his business, what's one piece of advice you would give him?
Ooh, one piece of advice I would give somebody. This is going to reflect just it might not be a quick fire answer, but I had somebody who came to me and said, "Hey, I want to start a business," and it was in like on e-commerce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we went down the road on it, and he was like bass backwards on everything as he was approaching it, and we realized within about 30 minutes is that he didn't actually want to start a business. He just wanted to have the job he loved. And so I think that the first question you have to ask yourself, are you looking to start a business just because you've had a bad experience with working for other people? Or are you the creator that is willing to take no more than yes? Because
Yeah,
most people are not cut out for the amount of no in an entrepreneur's life that you have
yeah,
to endure to be successful.
yeah. This is a good point. Why are you doing this really? Yeah,
Yeah.
good, good. What's one book you're reading now or have read recently that's having impact on how you think about your business?
My most recent book is called Four Conversations. And that one is a standby. I'm going to give you guys the deets on this. This one is called the Value Conversation Framework is actually what it's
Mm,
called. A new model for selling expertise by Blair Enns. He also has the expert something guide to selling expertise or something like that. It's a manifesto actually.
okay.
So if you look up Blair Enns, Enns, he has two books. So the Four Conversations, and then the other one's a manifesto. And the manifesto is amazing. I align with most everything he's saying, so it's a great like affirmation for me of like where I'm at.
Hmm.
And so I'm very happy with that book. But I'll tell you, the book that changed my entire entrepreneurial life is a book by Mike Michalowicz called Profit First.
Good, 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 good choices. All right. You've had a great journey. You've learned a
Thanks.
lot, done a lot of things. Would you say you're most proud of?
Not quitting.
That's actually an important piece of this game that goes along with the persistence.
Right. Patience and not quitting. Actually, when I closed the door on the brick and mortar, there was a week that I spent polishing or dusting off um, my resume that I hadn't even touched in 20 years,
Mm,
23 years to be exact. And by the end of it, my now wife was like, "You can't go work for somebody else." And that's when I realized I was actually an entrepreneur.
good, good. Following up, just for fun, if you had a magic wand that you could wave and magically fix one thing in your business, what would it be?
Employees.
Okay,
Employees. Yes, you love your employees, but employees are like adult children. You have no
sometimes.
control over them.
Good, 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 good. That's a it is a puzzle, isn't it?
It is every single one of them.
All right. So, most important question: how can people who want to know more get in touch with you?
All right, so I'm going to give you two because it depends on where you're at in your entrepreneurial
Hmm.
adventure. Okay, so if you're a
Hmm.
B2B business or a service-based business and you're under $1 million, I want you to check out my book called The Rule of 26. This is a
Good.
website marketing book that's only 100 pages long, and I only give you 3 steps to double your revenue. Okay, you can get it
Hmm.
free
Hmm.
at ruleof26.com. I will
No,
sign
good.
it personally and send it out to you. I just ask you to pay for the shipping and handling. If you are a 7 or 8 figure business and you're stuck or you're stuck with revenue versus or sales versus production
Hmm.
seesaw,
Hmm.
or you just can't get past the founder-led sales and or marketing space, please check us out at buzzworthy.biz, buzzworthy.biz.
Good. Excellent. Excellent. Last question. What's most inspiring to you today?
My wife and what she's doing with
Ooh,
her business.
ooh, good.
She's changing the world in how we learn history. And so I admire her for what she's doing.
I kind of wonder, are people learning history today? But
Well,
that's kind
she's
of
bringing history back to the history. So she's making historians out of students, which is amazing.
awesome. 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 This has been a great conversation, and this has been a lot of fun. We've touched an awful lot of really great points in growing and developing a business and learning what to do, what not to do. Maybe a little bit about how to do it. So this has been great. So for the audience, for all of you watching, save this show, come back to it again, watch it again. Michael's really given us some good ideas. Um, you never really learn until you've talked to somebody who's been in it for a while because it's not the urban myths don't cut it. So don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you can get notifications every time we do a new conversation just like this one. And thank you to everyone who joined us, and a special thanks to Michael for being with us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for having me.